All right, hi everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us. We're just gonna give it just a few seconds here to give everyone a chance to log on, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the webinar this afternoon. While we're waiting, I can sort of briefly introduce myself. So my name is David Buchner. I'm the program director of the Masters of Science program in Computational Genomic Medicine here at Case Western Reserve University. I'll be sort of hosting the webinar today and telling you a bit about our new program. And then we have a guest today for the webinar. It's Dr. Tom LaFramboise, and he's going to be telling you a little bit about one of the sort of core courses as part of the Computational Genomic Medicine Master's program that incoming students will begin taking the fall of their first year. And so he'll go over the syllabus and tell you a little bit about what's going to be in that class. The whole webinar today should take somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes and give you sort of a high-level overview of the program, as well as all of our contact information in case you need to follow up and ask any additional questions or anything like that. And there will be a time for question and answers we can do also sort of after the presentation's over. So if you have any questions that come up, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation today. All right, so it looks like folks are now in the meeting, so we'll go ahead and get started. A little bit of an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. I'll give a brief introduction, I guess reintroduce myself, talk a little bit about CWRU, Case Western. I'll go over the program, talk about some different career opportunities for graduates of the program, some of the highlights of living in Cleveland, go over the details of the application process. Then we'll go over the course, the computational genomics course, and then answer any questions that you may have. So again, my name is David Buchner. I'm the program director. There's also Susie Brannon, who's the educational program manager here of our master's program. There's an email you'll see at the bottom of the screen. It's genems@case.edu. That email will actually go to both of us. So if you have any questions, feel free to send an email to, again, it's genems@case.edu. And between the two of us, we should be able to answer any questions you may have about the application process, the curriculum, any other questions that you may have. A little bit about Case Western Reserve. It's actually a big year for us. So we were founded in 1826, so actually celebrating our 200th birthday this year. So lots of exciting programs going on around campus this year to celebrate that. And then just some of the numbers, about Case Western Reserve. Undergraduates, we have a little over 5,000 students. Graduate and professional students, we have actually a little over 6,000 students. So it is actually somewhat unique compared to a number of other universities in that we have more graduate students than we do have undergraduate students. And so I just wanted to highlight that to really point out that these master's programs are really central to the educational mission of Case Western Reserve. Operating budget's over $1 billion, research revenue is over $400 million annually, and endowment funds over $2 billion. And so we're sort of a well-funded, research-intensive university. Some of the rankings of Case that we're pretty proud of. We are the number 8 in the United States for biomedical and health sciences research. That's according to the Leiden rankings. Number 22 worldwide for biomedical and health sciences. Again, the same Leiden rankings. We're number 26 in the US for NIH funding among US medical schools, according to Blue Ridge Institute, and number 30 overall for US universities granted US utility patents. We are also a tier 1 medical school, so that's the highest ranking that you can get. That's according to the US News and World Report. We're the number 1 ranked medical school in the state of Ohio. And actually, just recently, a couple of days ago, Time Magazine ranked us as one of the top 25 universities in the entire world. And so we're really happy about that as well. So what is computational genomic medicine? So it integrates genomics, bioinformatics, and data science to analyze large-scale genetic and clinical data, trying to advance precision medicine, diagnostics, and personalized treatment. So here on the bottom, I have a couple of figures from some of the investigators that would be doing some of the research that you would have an opportunity to work with, and in a number of different fields. So on the left here is some figures from Yan Li's lab. Her lab focuses on diabetes and pancreatic development, and this is some of her data looking at spatial transcriptomics and beta cells. In the middle is actually from Tom LaFramboise that you'll hear from later, looking at mitochondrial mutations in cancer. And on the right here, on the bottom right, is from Fulai Jin's lab, who looks at sort of high throughput interactions and chromatin-chromatin interactions, looking at DNA looping and different things like that, developing all sort of computational methodologies to really look at those in high throughput manner in both normal development and as well as cancer and other disorders. So why did we develop this program in the first place? The program was designed to address the growing gap between rapid accumulation of genomics data and researchers and clinicians' ability to exploit these data to improve human health. And so recently, especially with high throughput genomics techniques becoming cheaper and cheaper to use, there's been a burst of data available to analyze, and just there are not enough people qualified to analyze this data. And so our program was developed to help teach people and train people how to better analyze these data to improve human health. So what are the sort of core components? What are you going to learn within our program? So you will acquire a core scientific knowledge in medical genetics and biostatistics, gain expertise in advanced computational genetics and genomic techniques. And really the third one is one of the most important, it's developing critical thinking and analysis skills. And so we're going to teach you the pipelines, how to do some of these computational analyses, but more and more, the AI is able to do a lot of that programming as well. So it's really developing the critical thinking skills that are going to let you use AI tools to help with programming and help drive the research forward. There's also going to be opportunities to participate in activities to improve oral and written communication skills. And then this is also really a focus of the program, is doing hands-on, clinically focused computational research. We'll talk a lot about this later, but most of the second year of the program is really focused on getting you in the lab, getting you hands-on experience doing sort of cutting-edge research projects. And then there's a number of various professional development activities as well. So who is this program designed for? We think most of the students that will be entering this program will either be from a computer science related background, so something like data science, bioinformatics, something like that, or from more of a biological sciences background, something related to genetics, biology, biochemistry, molecular biology, something like that. So there are no prerequisite class requirements because we realize that people may be coming from different backgrounds and so won't necessarily have all the same sort of prerequisites, but the curriculum is really designed that as long as you come in with either one of those backgrounds, we will fill in the gaps and help teach you what you need to know in order to integrate both of these fields to be doing computational genomics. There are a number of career paths for graduates of our program in biotech and pharma and academics and hospital settings. And those jobs could be things like bioinformatician, clinical genomics analyst, genomic software developer, data scientist, things like that. And collectively, these professions, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, are among the fastest growing occupations in the U.S. So there really are a lot of career opportunities for students that will be coming out of our program. Other opportunities also, if you don't want to go straight to get a job, would be to help strengthening applications to PhD programs, MD programs, other professional graduate programs. And our program is really designed to give you the hands-on expertise and get valuable hands-on research experience in order to strengthen your application to these programs. So in a nutshell, it's a 2-year program. The first year is generally centered on coursework, and the second year is generally centered on research. I'll go into a lot more detail about both of these. I just wanted to highlight on this slide that there are a lot of different research opportunities that are going to be available in that second year. It's not just at Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, but also in the Center for Human Genetics at University Hospital, also in the Genomic Medicine Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. So there are a lot of different possibilities, a lot of different places that students will be able to participate in research. In terms of what type of research students can participate in, there's a lot of different fields that we have faculty that are doing research in those fields. Just to highlight a few of them, there's a lot of metabolism research, things like obesity and diabetes. There is a lot of cancer genetics research, a lot of cystic fibrosis research. We have a whole center for individuals studying cystic fibrosis, people doing gene therapy, base editing, chemical genomics, looking at a lot of RNA biology, things like mRNA stability, splicing, different things like that. A lot of people working on stem cells. Neurogenetics is also a big field that a lot of folks are working on here, whether that's autism or MS or things like that. Really, the research at Case kind of spans the whole gamut. And so chances are, if you're interested in it, somebody there will be working on it. There's 3 different tracks to the master's program. The standard track is a 2-year program. That's what I was talking about, kind of first year of coursework, second year research. We do have an accelerated option, so you can finish in a year and a half, basically taking that last semester of research and fulfilling that over a summer, and then you'll easily be able to finish in a year and a half. We also have part-time options available. This can be really flexible. So there's a lot of different options that are available for the part-time program. It's relatively straightforward, though, to finish the program in either 3 years or 4 years, depending on sort of how much time commitments you wanted to do sort of per year. But 3 or 4 years would be pretty easy to rearrange the coursework in order to finish it in that time frame. So this is the coursework that would be part of the standard track. So this is finishing in the 2 years. The first fall semester, you would take the Computational Human Genomics course. So that's what Dr. LaFramboise is going to be talking about later, as well as an advanced medical genetics class and an elective. And I'll talk a little bit later about what some of the electives could be. In the spring of your first year, there's a current topics in genetics and genomics class, genetics journal club, readings and discussions in genetics. And this is a really nice opportunity to work one-on-one and read the primary literature with a faculty member of your choice, so that you can really get involved and go into depth in a particular research topic, with the idea being that that faculty member may end up being where you end up doing your research in the second year. And then finally, there's sort of an ethics-based class about being a professional scientist. In the second year, there's another quantitative genetics class, as well as another elective in the spring semester. And then there's the research. So this is where you are directly doing hands-on research in one of the labs at either Case University Hospital or Cleveland Clinic. And then the spring semester, there's no more classes. This is all research. And so you really get a chance to sort of get in the lab and get your hands wet and really get into the research and start to develop the expertise. These are some of the electives that are offered. There are electives in statistical methodology, data structure and algorithms, genetic epidemiology, cancer genetics. There are other classes in sort of AI and biomedical research, really a lot of classes that are available in the computer science departments, population quantitative health departments. And so this is just a sort of a small subset of what would be available to take. And there's 2 elective opportunities in the curriculum. Life in Cleveland, so it's a great place to live, a great place to do research. Cleveland is right on Lake Erie, and so there are during the summer anyway, a lot of lake activities to do. We have a lot of different sort of bars and restaurants and things like that, sort of downtown and both right around Case's campus. We're very close to Little Italy, a lot of great restaurants on campus. We have 3 professional sports teams, the Browns, the Guardians, the Cavs. There's a lot of museums that are actually walking distance or directly on campus. There's the Cleveland Art Museum, which has one of the largest acquisition budgets for any art museum outside of New York and Los Angeles. There's the Cleveland Natural History Museum, which was actually just recently named one of the top 5 renovated museums in the country. It's a great museum there. There's also the Modern Art Museum. The Cleveland Orchestra is one of the best in the country. That's also right on campus. There's a great theater district. I think it's the largest contiguous theater district in the United States outside of New York. So a lot of great opportunities there. We also have a great park system. We have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And all this is great. And there's also the cost of living is relatively cheap in Cleveland. There's not that much traffic in Cleveland. So it's a great place to live. It's a relatively easy place to live. And it's a really affordable place to live as well. So how do I apply? So first thing to do would be to go to Case's application portal. So it's applygrad.case.edu/apply. And you'll go there, you'll set up your own account, and that will enable you to sort of upload all the different pieces of the application. And so the application for our master's program includes a statement of purpose. So this is just a little bit of a chance to sort of tell us about yourself, why you're interested in the program, maybe some of the research background you have or research interests you have after the program, things like that. You can upload your CV, your transcripts, and those can be unofficial transcripts. And then we ask for 3 letters of recommendation. It says here at least 2 of them should be professional references. So those are things like your professors or supervisors or maybe someone in the lab that you worked in before if you have research experience. And really probably all 3 of the recommendation letters should be from professional references. And then finally, for international candidates, we ask for TOEFL scores as well. It is an option to upload GRE scores as well if you want to. Those are, again, completely optional. It won't hurt your application at all if you don't upload those. But again, that's an option. If you did well, then go ahead and upload them. Admission timeline. So we've already passed the priority deadline here, which was on January 1st. So the next deadline coming up is until July 15th. And it says here that if you apply by July 15th, you'll get a decision by August 5th. We've been really operating more on sort of a rolling admission basis. So if you go ahead and submit your application tomorrow, it's not going to sit there until July and you won't hear until August 15th. So if you submit your application tomorrow, our applications committee will start reviewing it right away. And it's been averaging probably about a month from the time you apply until you get your final decision. Most of that time is actually because part of the applications process is if it moves forward from the applications committee, we try and set up 3 interviews. Usually one with me, one with someone on the admissions committee, and then one, if there's someone at Case that you're particularly interested in their research, we try and give you a chance to set up an interview and discuss with them. And those are relatively informal. It's just a chance for us to learn more about you and for you to learn a little bit more about the program. And so the deadline says July 15th, but you can apply earlier and you will definitely hear from us before August 5th. Finally, contact information. Again, my name is David Buchner. You can email me at genems@case.edu. There's also a link to the website here where you can find a lot more information about the program. There's a link to where to apply on the website as well. And I think that's about all I have to say. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Dr. LaFramboise, and he can tell you a little bit more about the course that he is teaching. So.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Buchner. So I am now attempting to share my slides. Are these visible?
Yes, looks good.
Great. Okay. So I thought what would be most useful is just to kind of, it's sort of this course serves as the core course for the program. And I thought what would be most useful is just to sort of walk through the most recent syllabus. It's sort of an interesting course, an interesting field because it's very fluid, very dynamic, the set of topics, and that's because the field changes so rapidly that we anticipate that we'll regularly have to update things as the technology moves forward. And that's really the goal of the course, which is to take a student with not necessarily any formal training in coding, computational analysis, et cetera, or a student who does have that sort of training, but maybe isn't as well versed in molecular biology and genetics. And once they finish the course, they are prepared to actually begin to do some work in a lab to help with research and that sort of thing. So that's really the overall goal. And as such, as the technologies evolve and mature, the list of topics is going to change. So you can see this is the actual syllabus copied verbatim from this past fall's course, and I anticipate that it'll be somewhat different even next semester. So I'm just going to walk through these topics and just touch on them very briefly. It should only take 5 or 10 minutes just to give you a flavor of what this course does. So usually I start off just by giving an overview of genetics and genomics, and really some of it is housekeeping on that very first day, to just sort of let folks know how the course is going to be structured and what the expectations are. There are throughout the entire course, there are a lot of hands-on sessions and then assignments that build on these hands-on sessions. So, the student brings in their laptop, And the usually there's tutorials and such that people go through to get up to speed on things. And this is all done during class time. And then, as I say, the assignments after class build on these things. So Dr. Grider in the department just gives an overview. And again, each I guess I shouldn't say again, each class session is 2 hours and it's twice a week. So this particular session, Dr. Grider goes through general overview of molecular biology, just to give the underpinnings, the biological underpinnings of the technology that we're going to be dealing with. And then with the next course, the image that I show here is the genetics piece. So this is having to do with variant calling. But what we also do during this block, so this is several consecutive course sessions, is we actually go through some of the basics of using both the Unix environment. So that's learning how to do things like bash scripting, command line programming, working with our HPC. So the HPC here refers to the high performance cluster. And we also go through some basics of R. But the way I teach it, since this is sort of my area of interest, is to do everything in the context of DNA variant calling. So this is looking for mutations and germline variants in DNA. Also, I should emphasize that as per the title of the course, we do focus on human genetics. So, this isn't a course talking about plant genomics and so forth. Then Dr. Grider takes this a step further and starts looking at things like RNA sequencing, some of the public databases, and that's what's shown here in this image, so-called geodata sets. So these days, there's so much public genomic data available that part of the skill set that one should be able to emerge from the course with is to be able to access these databases and acquire the data. Now, the data tends to be very large in terms of just the number of really gigabytes or even terabytes in some of the files. So we do teach how to access the data and how to process it. And it builds on the prior tutorials in things like Unix and R. We do have some guest speakers talking about current topics, and Dr. I always mispronounce her name, even though she rotated with me a number of years ago, Dr. Akavanfard. This year she gave a course in genetic counseling and optical mapping, which is a technology. She runs a diagnostic lab at University Hospitals, which is adjacent to our medical school. And she teaches some optical mapping techniques that look for sort of gross chromosomal changes based on this technology. Dr. Miron, who's in our department, he runs our core, our sequencing core, and the vast majority of the technologies that we cover in the course are so-called next generation sequencing based. So he's an expert in that regard, and he talks about the history and the chemistry of how these technologies work. And in fact, he even marches the entire class down to his core, which is just a stone's throw away from the classroom, and actually shows them the machines and how they work. So it's good to see the guts of the technology that produces all this data that we work with. And then we had a fairly large block with several folks who come from the same pair of labs, Dr. Lee and Dr. Jin, and Dylan Plummer's the postdoc, and Xiuan Yang is actually a grad student who took the course a year ago, the year prior, and she ended up teaching it because she was so proficient. And here I'm just the upper panel on the left, I'm just trying to emphasize that the instructors will walk you through all of the commands and explain what they do so that you can actually execute them on the data being generated. And then there's always an eye, and this is the lower left panel, always an eye to the biological meaning of this and the what the assays are trying to measure. In this case, we're talking about ChIP-seq data. But as you can see, there's many, many topics there. Dr. Plummer in this past semester also introduced the students to Python, which is distinct from R and from the Unix bash scripting. And they also touched on many other topics, as you can see, ATAC-seq, the genome browser, et cetera. And then another graduate student who has become expert in spatial transcriptomics, which is an emerging and very important technology where you can actually look at gene expression in a tissue slide, or in a tissue section, I should say. You can look at expression of hundreds of genes at a near single cell level. So that's what this is showing, this image right here. And this is a very hot and developing technology. And she walks through the tutorials. And the reason it's only one session, as you can see by the width of the, or the height of the cell that's shown here. The reason that it's only one session is that given all of the expertise that the student hopefully will have built up over the course of the course, learning the pipelines at this stage is actually much easier than it is earlier because you have all the experience from the prior courses. Then this semester, I touched on DNA methylation. This can also change from semester to semester. Literally, I will ask, because there's a lot of topics that one could touch on, what is of most interest to the students. And in the past, I've done things like cancer genomics and microbiome stuff and other things. But in this case, I ran through some DNA methylation technologies, how we measure it, and so forth. And finally, this semester, we've wrapped up with two faculty in our department, Dr. Clayton and Dr. Scavuzzo, who talked about another very hot and developing technology, single cell RNA sequencing. And this just shows a snapshot of the software, which is called Seurat, that can allow one to visualize the expression of genes on the single cell level. So this is just supposed to give a flavor of what we cover in the course. And as I say, the idea is that when the student finishes the course, they're ready to get started on some research in a lab in the department. And I think that's my last slide. So I'll stop there and turn things back over to Dr. Buchner.
All right, great. That was great, Tom. Thanks very much for going through that. And so that really concludes what we have prepared to talk about our master's program. And so really we'll sort of open up the floor to anyone listening here live, and to go ahead, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And between the two of us, we'll try our best to answer them. So I see the first question there. So maybe you can help me answer this one too. So someone asked whether they need any sort of special computer to kind of bring with them, anything special in the laptop or anything like that. I'll say before I turn it over to Tom to answer sort of whether they need anything for his class. During the research part of the program, you shouldn't need to bring any sort of special computer or high powerful computer to do any of these kind of research or anything like that. You'll be doing the research in the lab. And so you'll be able to use the sort of computational resources that each of the labs have available to them. Each lab does it a little bit differently. As Tom mentioned, we have an HPC, a high performance computing network here at Case. A lot of the labs do some of their analyses using that. A lot of the labs in our department also, they just have their own server that they run analyses on, or we also have sort of departmental servers and things like that people can do research on, and there should be desktops and things like that in the lab for people to do any kinds of analyses when they're in the lab. So once you're doing research in the lab, you will have access to sort of all the computational resources in that lab, and be able to use those for performing the research. And then Tom, do they need anything special for the class?
No, not at all. In fact, the interesting thing is the laptop really kind of serves as what's called a dummy terminal, in the sense that all the work's being done by the HPC in the class, the clusters. So the laptop just serves as a window to access the HPC where all the computation is being done. So all the computation is being done. So literally the student and the instructor log on to the HPC, the cluster that actually is, I'm sort of pointing from my office where it is. It's literally about it physically lives about a 5-minute walk from my office. And it does all of the computation. So you're just sort of staring at a window that allows you a view into that. So that's the long answer. The short answer is no special computer necessary, just a laptop that functions.
Perfect. So we had another question come in, just asking about the process of picking a lab. Basically, how do I end up in a lab to do research in the second year? I can talk a little bit more about that as well. The idea is when you, as kind of Tom really nicely went through, you get exposed to a lot of the faculty in our department through these courses, because a lot of them are team taught. And so you'll get to hear a little bit about the sort of techniques and tools that they're doing. So in the first year, through Tom's class, as well as through some of the other genomics classes that you'll be taking, you'll get exposed to a lot of the different faculty in our department, to be able to see sort of which faculty you enjoy working with. In the first year, there is also that 1-credit class I mentioned before, where you can directly work one-on-one with a faculty member to read papers and get a sense of what they're working on and different things like that. So sort of the idea is through that exposure, then you'll be able to interact with the faculty, decide what sort of research project you want to work on, which one is using the sort of computational tools you want to work on, and just chat with, as many of the faculty as you need to sort of help make that discussion. And then you'll have that kind of whole first year to make that, sort of help make that discussion, or help make that decision, engage with other faculty in the department, help choose. And then in the second year is when you'll join a lab and begin working, in depth in someone's lab on a research project. So, and then let's see, other questions coming in. A thesis. I didn't mention this before. Someone asked about writing a thesis as part of the master's program. I should have mentioned this. So there is no, this is a non-thesis program. So there is no, you will not have to write a thesis in order to graduate from this master's program. So as opposed to sort of doing a literature review and writing a long paper about it and things like that, we really instead wanted to focus on doing hands-on research and getting in the lab. And so there's no thesis requirement for graduation from this master's program. And I am not seeing any more questions come in, so I'll give a quick, if anyone has any, go ahead and put them in the chat really quickly. If not, then I'd like to thank everyone for attending the webinar. Again, you can email us. It's genems@case.edu, and I can answer any other questions you may have about the program or the application process or Cleveland or Case or anything like that. And yeah, thanks very much for your time, and take care. And thanks, Tom, again for helping to present. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.